I'm Joe Eamon. I'm an alcoholic. It's 9:39. I love to talk. I sit here thinking I've got a crisis this morning because I woke up this morning, ate breakfast, drank coffee. Crystal and I talked. We drove out here. There's been nothing wrong. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking this isn't good. Nothing's better happened. Nothing's happened today. But I've talked to three people. It's got a little crisis going, so I feel better now. You know what I mean? I just feel normal now. You know what I mean? I need that. I I want to thank the committee for asking me to talk at the 24th annual Roll 62 conference. It's an honor to talk in AA. I love to talk anywhere. Talking's got me in trouble all my life. I was glad I was out here last night. Two wonderful speakers. It's like I feel so good after people talk. You know what I mean? It's like, but I'm going to be honest. I'm one of those guys that I'd rather be given the lead. I love to talk. I like hearing you, but I like talking about me. Right? I just do. Right? It's like some people get up here and say, I don't really like to do this. Hell, I love it. I mean, I love to share love AA. I just love AA, man. It's like, it's sort of weird how AA works. I get up here and talk about myself for about 45 minutes. You sit there and think about yourself for about 45 minutes. And we all feel great. It doesn't make any sense, man. I love AA. And then we say stuff like, I don't know how it works. And some of you also say, well, why don't you listen? We read it at every meeting. It's like, I just love AA, man. I just love AA. I was probably 10 years sober. Honesty's always been hard for me, sober or drunk. I've got a little better at it. I don't know if I've ever talked for an hour in my life and didn't tell a lie. I don't know if I've ever, you know what I mean? I can't do that, man. I'm the type that'll say a bunch of us went fishing. So you think I got a bunch of friends, but really only two of us went. But it just sounds better a bunch, doesn't it? It just sounds better. In AA, we call that lying. I just call it making the story better. You know what I mean? It's what I do. Man. I, uh, but I was probably 10 years sober in Leeds talking about doing cocaine. Well, I ain't never done cocaine in my life. But everybody in AA at the time when I got sober, they were doing cocaine, and I was afraid they'd kick me out, so I talked about doing it too. But I'm honest enough today, I never really done drugs. I just didn't do them. I would smoke pot if it was yours. I was one of those guys, and I think one of the speakers, I don't know which one, talked about last night. I didn't drink alcohol because I didn't want to be an alcoholic. I just drank beer. And to me, there was always, if I knew if I drank whiskey, because the couple times I did drink whiskey, I would fight. So I didn't want to be an alcoholic and one of them guys that fought all the time. So I just drank beer. So I wasn't really drinking alcohol because there is you know, I mean, in my mind. And as I tell you my story about the drinking, it'll make more sense why I didn't need drugs. And I know that today. I, uh, I got sober when I was 15. No, yeah, I got sober when I was 15. I started drinking when I was 15 and I got sober when I was 25. So I only drank for 10 years. I've been sober 30 years. So I have a lot more experience sober than drunk. The only bad thing I can see about that is getting sober young like that. You still have to learn life lessons. You've got to do dumb stuff. And then people say, were you sober when you did that? I think, well, you had the luxury of being drunk. I didn't, man. I still have to learn. I was in my first nut war when I was 15. I was drunk in high school. And I had an altercation with the school teacher. There was some blood. I ended up in the nut war. And I'll never forget. They said, have you been smoking pot? I said, no. And I was drunk. Have you been drinking? I said, no. Because you know how you got to lie about that. So they put me in a nut war. Today I realize, well, if you do what I did, sober, they're going to put you in the nut war. If I just told them I was drunk, it would have probably made sense to them. You know what I mean? But I lie. I just lie. I got a girl pregnant in high school. I was already getting in trouble. So my family, my mom and dad, my mom's still alive. My dad's been dead. Great people. Dad drank quite a bit. but great parents. I can't blame it on them, although it's their fault. I'm an alcoholic, but I can't blame it on them. I went through all that in that first year sober. It's their fault and all that. But I understand that. Two great parents raised me. They wanted to keep me out of trouble, so they sent me to Newport Catholic, all boys school. I got a girl pregnant in high school. So that didn't work. And everybody said, get married, do the right thing. I remember mom and dad saying, you got to be a man, you got to do the right thing. So I did it. I got married. I didn't marry the girl I got pregnant. I married a different girl. What it? They didn't tell me who. Story of my life. I just can't follow directions. I can't do it. I just don't fit in. I just don't fit in. I never did fit in. I fit in Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't fit nowhere else. Never did. I just never did. I graduated from high school and I wasn't out in school the last 3 months, so they sent work home. I don't know how that happened. I guess my parents arranged that, but I did graduate from high school. I got a job as a bricklayer. My dad was a bricklayer. My uncle was a bricklayer. Cousin bricklayer. Nephew's bricklayer. My whole family's bricklayers. So I was a bricklayer. 18 years old bricklayer. I was paying child support to one girl, married to another girl, and all the guys we ran with, we were all married, paying child support to girls. That's what we all did. You're with this one and paying that one. That's what we did. It's not changed much, but you know what I mean? That's sort of what we did. I two pretty big events in my life, and I'm not going to talk a whole lot about my drinking, but two pretty important events in my life. I pretty well always share in my leads, and the first one was when a buddy of mine, we were all drunk, and we were living in the West End, Covington. Today they call it domestic violence. Back then they called it marriage, and just what we did. And I remember he was real drunk. And she went down them steps. He jumped down there, and it was pretty bad. It was bad. But we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have 911. We didn't have all that. But I remember local police coming. I remember state police coming. The state police taking my chains off, my chain belts off, and ambulance come got her. He went to jail. We're 18. I think he was 19. His brother and I bailed him out of jail. I don't know if you still can, but back then you could buy beer, alcohol all night long back then. We bailed him out of jail. It was about 4 a.m. when we got him out. And after you have a night like that, you can't start getting sober. You got to keep staying drunk. You can't get sober after that. You got to stay drunk. So we bought him a fifth of whiskey. We went back. We were sitting in the chair. He pretty well drank that whole fifth of whiskey real fast. And we were all pretty drunk. He never said a word. He just stood up, walked in the room, got a shotgun, come back out, sat there, turned around, and blew his guts out all on the floor. That's how we drank. That's just how we drank. Probably everyone in this room knows some alcoholism killed one of people. We all know that. I was sitting right there when he did it. About a year later, that girl I married, her and I were having marriage problems. She was getting tired of my girlfriends, but I call them marriage problems. And she said she wanted a divorce. Well, I had no idea she would leave a guy like me. So I said, what do you mean you want a divorce? And she says, yep, I want a divorce. Well, I remember what my buddy did. You know how alcoholism is. I might not want you, but nobody else is going to have it. You are mine. So I remember what my buddy did. I was in and out of a blackout, but I do remember that. I remember it like it was yesterday. God didn't let me be in a blackout through some of that. Next thing I know, the state police are there. The local police are there. Ambulance is there. And I'm the guy in cuffs. Bad day. Bad day. I didn't wake up that morning and say, I think I'm going to start drinking. It wasn't like that. I probably woke up and said, I'm going to drink and we're just going to have fun today. That's how it always started. That's what alcohol did. I have no choice over that. I never planned it like that. That's not what I wanted. Today I know that I've never seen that girl since that was 1981. I have never seen that woman since, and I was married to. I had never seen that woman since that day. That guy that she left me for was the vice president of Bank of America. They moved to Singapore. I wish I'd have married that dude. Why didn't I meet? See how Alcoholics Anonymous has changed me? I'm happy for that woman. And I would have beat her to death. But it wasn't her that I wanted to kill. It was me. It was not her that I wanted to kill. But I probably would have beat her to death. That drunk, lonely feel. You know the worst part about being drunk like that? You know what I knew tomorrow was going to be? Drunk again. That's the terrible part about alcoholism. I knew it was going to be like that tomorrow. I had no choice. I didn't want to be like that, but I knew I was going to be like that. I was 25 years old. I've been in care units. I've been in hospitals. I've been in jail. So many people tried to help me. Priests, like the book talks about it. It talks about it. They probably could have helped us if we'd have been honest. So many people tried to help me. Book talks about that jumping off place. 25 years old, sitting on the bedroom floor all by myself. Nobody around. I'm going to date myself here. I had a quart of beer in my hand. Today they have liters, I think. Back then we had quarts. I had a quart of beer in my hand. And I was crying like a little baby. All by myself. To be in this room, I guess you've been there. So I called my mom, like any tough guy does, leather chains. They call mom. That's what I did. And she said, honey, why don't you try AA? I said, Mom, you know AA don't work. See, because I'd been to AA. Every time I was in the hospital. Every time I was in the nut ward. They'd take me to AA. And no matter how good AA is, and no matter what you think, if you're going to drink, AA isn't good. If you know you're going to drink again, AA is not good. They're all laughing, and I hate them. It's not good. So I went to AA. I went to Russell Street in Covington. They closed that clubhouse some years ago, but that's where I got sober at. I went there. I walked in. There was a table, just like a regular AA clubhouse. There was tables everywhere, but I was about a half hour early. I don't know why God got me there a half hour early. And there was like 4 guys on one side, 4 girls on the other side. And they all had these white cups. So I sat back by the door. You know how when you're debating on killing yourself or coming to AA, you've got to make that decision by the door, but you got to look good while you're making it. So I was sitting in the back door thinking, do I kill myself? Do I try AA? Do I look good? You know how we are. I mean, if I'm going to kill myself, I'm going to look good. You know how we are. And this one tall, thin, cocky dude flirting with them girls, and I was watching him. And they were all laughing, and I could tell they liked him. I thought, I'm going to whoop his ass. See, because I don't like happy. I don't like it. I just don't like happy. When you're miserable, lonely, hateful, you don't like happy. And I didn't like that dude. Never talked before, never met him before in my life, but I didn't like it. God's got a funny way of doing things. Only one person walked back there and talked to me. That tall, thin, cocky dude. He walks back and he shakes my hand and says, I'm George. I said, I'm Joe. Never met the guy before in my life. He said, you want a cup of coffee? I had never drank a cup of coffee in my life. I drank Miller beer. And I'd go to bed at night, and I always made sure there was some beer left in the bottle, because that blood would come back up on my nose, my mouth. That blood would come in my beard. I'm 18 years old, and I'm throwing that blood back up, because I don't like to eat when I drink. I ain't never drank a cup of coffee in my life, but I saw those white cups there. I got nowhere else to go. I said, yeah, I'll take a cup of coffee. He gets real quiet. He says, what do you want in it? I said, man, you people in AA ask a lot of questions, dude. We're having a discussion about a cup of coffee. Because I can't tell this dude, listen, I think about killing myself. So you can't do that. I'm having a discussion about a cup of coffee. There's insanity about it. Him and I get talking. I'm drinking this nasty tasting coffee. Still drink it. Still nasty. Still drink it. Thanks to AA. Him and I get talking. Never met 4 guys in my life. We're talking. He says, I used to get drunk and hit my wife. I had never told nobody I did that. I had a lawyer tell me, never tell nobody you did that. I never told nobody I did that. I never mentioned that. That was like part you just didn't talk about my life. And here's a guy in AA. No, I went to priests, psychologists, I've had so many people try to help me. And here's some tall, thin, cocky dude. It AA meeting. But I trusted it. I don't know why. I don't know why I trusted. Today I know God put him in my life. See, because he never told me what to do. The priests were telling me what to do. The psychiatrists were telling me. He never told me what to do. He told me what he did. And I trusted that. And I said, I did that too. It's the first time I ever was honest about that. My first AA meeting. He said, don't worry about it. I beat all 5 of mine up. I said, you need AA bad, dude. And I thought, man, I'm glad I didn't try to whoop this crazy. This dude's crazy. My introduction to Alcoholics Now. See, I wasn't looking for him. And I didn't come there looking for a sponsor. And I didn't come there to find God. I come there because I had nowhere else to go. I love Alcoholics. Just love him. Him and I get talking. He tells me a lot of different stuff. He starts telling me about working the steps. Well, my life's really not that bad. I'm only 25. I understand you older people need to work your steps, but I'm pretty young and I didn't do a lot of that stuff. I said stuff to him like, I don't think I'm as sick as a lot of these people in AA. Man, they drank a long time. He said, you're sicker, you got here quicker. You can't beat these AA people, man. They got a saying for everything, man. You can't beat them. I was 3 months sober. He introduces me to another guy, George, 2 Georges. He said, this is going to be your other sponsor. You're sick, you need to. He's got a 3-piece suit on at Rush Street in Covington. So after the meeting, he says, come out. The second George says, come out, I want to talk to you. I'm 3 months sober. 3 months without a drink is a big deal. I didn't know I could do that. I never went 3 months. I was going to AA every night. I never been 3 months. I never tried to be 3 months sober. It was awesome. I was still having trouble with the God part. Every time people would talk about God, I would duck because I knew what I deserved. I wasn't one of those guys who believed if there was one or not. I knew there was one, and I was hiding because I didn't want what I knew what I deserved. I knew who I was. Him and I go outside. He's in his 3-piece suit. He's talking. He said, this is my Corvette. And it just blurted out of my mouth. I said, we used to steer. And I shut up. I don't get too honest with him yet. You know? Feel him out here a little bit. Him and I get talking. I said, you ever been in jail? Nope. I said, have you ever did this? Nope. Have you ever did this? Nope. I worded it different, but I said, have you ever had domestic violence? Nope. I don't like guys that do that. I said, you've done nothing. Why are you in AA? Why are you here? It didn't make any sense. I remember saying, did you ever wreck a car? He said, no. Why would you come to AA? And here's what he said. He said, I drank 2 fifths of gin every night. I was so lonely. I wanted to blow my guts out. I had no friends. I had nowhere to go. The loneliness was killing. See, I got it confused. I thought it was about what we did. Everybody in this room did something different. We all did something different. And if you wreck 10 cars, I wrecked 12. We're lying about it anyway. New guy tells me you wrecked 12 cars. That's a lie. You didn't keep a job long enough to buy 12 cars. See, I got all that confused. God put 2 Georges in my life. I wasn't looking for those 2 Georges, and they sort of carried the baby me through AA. Thank God. I was 6 months sober, still not working the steps. Both the Georges talking about working the steps. To be honest, and this is how, in retrospect, I was so happy not to drink. That's all I cared about. I didn't know I could not drink. That was good enough. It's the happiest I've ever been in my life. So I'm 6 months sober. And the problem with not working the steps, you can stay sober. I did it. I didn't do a 4th step till I was 2 years sober. I wouldn't recommend it, and I'm going to share you why. Share some experiences why. I was 6 months sober. Okay. I was going down this one-way street there in Covington. I wasn't going the right way, but I was going down this one-way street. And here come a police cruiser, just like this. So we just stop. Door opens, blue lights on. It's a female with a pistol. I had a problem with women all my life. So I figured she doesn't know about AA and so. So she said, "Sir, what are you doing?" I said, "That's my house right up there." And she said, "Sir, but what are you doing?" 6 months sober. I said, "The people in AA said I can do whatever I want as long as I don't drink." So I figured she don't know about AA. No, I don't know if I was ever told that, but I heard that. You know, you can hear things that you need to hear, but it's never really said. I think maybe Joe said it, and I heard him say it. I'm in handcuffs sober. I love Alcoholics Anonymous. God, I wish this was about drinking and drugs. I wish this was about alcohol. God, I wish it was. Because when I stopped doing it, my life really got great. God, I wish it was about that. But see, I'm still in handcuffs 6 months. I'm not right. I am not right. I just don't fit. I'm not right. I just don't fit in. I can't follow the rules. Aren't we the type of people, you're looking for a place to park, you can't find a place to park, there's nowhere to park, and you see a big no parking sign, it's like, that's my spot. It's just natural. Hell, that's mine. It's just something in me. Just following those rules. It's just hard to do. 9 months sober. The second George is living with me. And here's why. I was living with my brother and cousin who were bricklayers, and we were all drinking. And they come to my house on a Saturday morning. The two Georges from AA come to my house on a Saturday morning, beating on my door. I get up in my underwear because I'm the only one sober in the house. There were like 10 guys laying around drunk, and they all did drugs. There was cocaine in it, and I was still living with them. The two AA Georges knocking on my door in the morning. And I remember looking out, thought, God, I hope the neighbors don't see these AA people. I'm okay with my buddies peeing in the bushes, but not the AA people, man. And the two Georges on Saturday morning said, "Why don't you come hang with us today? We're going to go out to the farm and smoke." I'm 25 years old, 9 months sober, thinking, my life sucks. I'm going shopping with AA guys. But when you got no friends, you go. I didn't have nowhere else to go. Today I know on the way out there, I didn't know why we were going out there. And the second George says, "Hey, you can't keep living with your brother and cousin like that. You can't do that and stay sober." I said, "I know, it's getting hard." He said, "I'll move in if you help me pay the bill." I said, "That's cool." And he did. Today I know why we were out there. His girlfriend threw him out. We were going out to the mall to sell his ring back because he had nowhere to live. So my sponsor moved in with me because he had nowhere to live. And I get my brother and we all Alcoholics Anonymous. I lived with him for probably 3 years. Lived with my sponsor. I needed that one-on-one help. So awesome. I wouldn't. By then, I was starting to talk to God a little bit. I wasn't ducking when I was talking to God. I was starting to trust God a little bit. I tell you how I was introduced to doing my steps. I was 2 years sober before I did a fourth step. And this is a true story. I'm down at the clubhouse 2 years sober, and I was single, 27 years old, 2 years sober, proud. 2 years sober. I just starting to get ready to cut my hair, try not to wear those leather and chains. I'd wear them some days I would, try and fit in with the general population. It's a big switch, man. You know, I don't know how to act. Two ladies down at Russ Street saved my life. Those two women saved my life. They threw me up against the wall. I swear they did. Said, "You're going to do a four step or we're going to kill you. You are not going to keep doing that, what you're doing." See, I was doing what I knew to do. I was just doing what I knew to do. When I don't drink, I just do what I knew to do. Thank God for the two women. Saved my life. Because I was doing stuff I didn't want to do, but I didn't know how not to do. They saved my life. So I did my four step, I did my inventory, and found out I was wrong sometimes. The book talks about a roaring tornado. That's sort of mildly how we really were, you know. But that word's nice how we really were. I was 6 years sober. 6 years sober. I'm gonna jump way up. I was put in a position, I was a bricklayer, and I was put in a position, if you're a bricklayer and you don't drink for 6 years, you're the boss. That's how it works. I was the boss of the bricklayers. We put the addition on this school. And the principal of the tech school said, hey, we got these programs, plumbing, health science. We got all these programs, and I need a teacher for one of our programs. Are you interested? Alcoholics Anonymous. See what happens when you go to work every day? That's not your aim. But because of Alcoholics Anonymous, I was going to work every day. If you go to work every day, you become the boss. I didn't want to be the boss. I just got to be the boss. Alcoholics Anonymous. And this principal says, are you interested? It was 100 degrees that day. 6 years sober. Rigorous honesty. Clicked right in my head. So I said, is it air conditioned? Exactly what I had. It's about as honest as I could get. He said, well, the shop area is not, but the classroom is. I said, I'm interested. Yeah. 6 years sober. I go on this interview. I never been on an interview before in my life. You don't interview to be a bricklayer. You climb the scaffold. If you don't fall, they hop you. You don't interview to be a bricklayer. Never been on an interview in my life. So the girl I was married to at the time was also in AA, and she's still sober a lot of years. She said, you need to wear a tie. Okay. She said, I'll get a tie for my dad. I said, okay. So that morning, I didn't go to work. She didn't go to work. It's a big deal. I know where I come from. I know my past. I know who I am. I've got a chance to be a teacher. It's awesome. I was trying to practice humility in AA, but if you ran into me, I was going to slide that conversation in because you were going to know. I was trying to be humble, but I was proud. It's hard to do. That's the problem with my humility. I got to tell you how good I'm doing about it. That's the problem with it. Because I was proud. I've got a chance to be a school teacher. So I go in this interview. Before I do, I'm putting a tie on. I don't know how to tie a tie. So she grabs a tie and she starts tying a tie. 6 years sober. Probably the best day of my life. Best day of my sobriety. My life is going to change. Alcoholism. I said, how do you know how to tie a man's tie? The best day of my life. And I'll never forget it. She said, Joe, don't go there. I said, oh no, I want to know. See, I don't deserve nothing. I'm just no good. I don't deserve nothing. And I will screw it up. I went on that interview. They hired me. I kept going to college. I'd never been to college. I'd never taken a college class in my life. So they got me an emergency teaching certificate. I had to go to school at night, take these college classes to get these teaching degrees. And they said, have you ever taken any college classes? I said, no. Well, you need to go take some college classes. I said, all right. Well, before you do that, you got to take an ACT test. I couldn't spell ACT. The book talks about we can't differentiate the truth from the false. We mix lies with the truth. I've told so many lies, I don't even know what's true anymore. Drinking, it just gets all mixed up. The book talks about. So the first one says, have you ever been to college? Well, I got a dilemma. Because we used to steal cars from the college. So I sort of been to college. But I've never really been in college. So how honest do you need to be? I take this ACT test. I'm proud. I get dressed in the dark. It's a Saturday morning. I didn't want to wake her up because I was still married to that girl. And I didn't want to wake her up because it says selfishness and self-centeredness that we think is the root of our problems. I don't want to be selfish and self-centered no more. So I get dressed in the dark because I don't want to wake her up. It's a Saturday morning. And I'm walking down that hall about 7 o'clock real early on a Saturday morning. Inside, I'm finally inside the college. First time I've ever been. It's beautiful. And there's 3 young, pretty blonde girls. And I'm walking down the hall and they say, we like your shoes. 3 young girls. And I thought, I'm going to like college. And as I'm walking down the hall, I look, I got a gray cowboy boot on and a brown cowboy. Uh, uh, See how God takes care of me? Because I'm going to tell you a little secret. I was passing a lot of you people up in AA. I was doing good in AA. I was doing better than a lot of you. See, because I know where I come from, and I was going to be a teacher, and I was passing you up. I wasn't telling you that, but secretly I was doing better. Well, when you got girls laughing at you 6 years sober, it brings you back down. You really are. Thank God for that. Thank God for that. Because my ego can get my ego can get way out of check. It can get there. Thank God. He just brings me back down to like sometimes it takes humility, or sometimes it takes being humiliated like that. But thank God. Thank God. I'm gonna jump up more. I was 20 years sober. 2004. Raising 2 kids. Today I've got a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old. It's 20 back then. I was 20 years sober in 2004. I was diagnosed with cancer. Just about everybody knows people that had cancer now. Some have made it, some haven't. I was diagnosed with cancer. They did a surgery on me that didn't get it. So I remember they said, we got to do 35 radiation treatments. You're going to get sick, but you'll be all right. Okay? So I do these radiation treatments, 35 straight days. I lost my hair. I threw up. They fed me through a tube. So I got a little flap on. I got a scar on my stomach where they fed me through this tube. I was in a wheelchair those last couple of months. After about 3-4 months of that, they waited a month. They did a PET scan on me. So with the cancer still there, we thought it would get it. We're going to have to cut you again. You need to get your will in order. You need to get your living will in order. You need to get all your stuff taken care of. Well, I'm not a doctor, but I know that's probably not good. I'm thinking, dang, I'm God. I'll start and get resentful with God. See, my life sucked most of my life. But for 20 years in AA, it was good. And I remember crying, thinking, God, I just want 10 more, God. The first years were terrible. I've only had 20 good. I want 10 more. I should have said 30 because now I'm at the 10. See how I always cheat myself? I always cheat myself. Oh. That last surgery, I was going to be in the hospital for 5 days. And they put a magic marker right here by this earlobe, all the way across here, underneath my throat, all the way up here to the top of my nose. How I know that is, they made me hold a mirror, and I didn't look at a mirror. With that same magic marker, I had to put my initials, J.A., right here, right on my cheek. And that's how I went under surgery. So when I woke up, I knew where those staples were going to be, and I was going to talk through that box. And I had about 50 cans. And that's how I went under that surgery. I was going to be in hospital for 5 days. I woke up. I remember getting a resentment about that, how my mind works, how my crazy alcoholic mind works. There were like 10 nurses there. 9-year-old young pretty nurses, and I get the 90-year-old nurse. And I think, God, why would you do that? My last days, God, why would you do that? See, I'm always getting cheated. God's always picking on me. Always getting cheated. I woke up, and that nurse says, Joe, you're going home. And I said, if I've been here 5 days, when you come out of one of them surgeries, you sort of in it. It didn't make any sense. I had 5 or 6 staples right here. And I went home. And the reason I did, the nurse said that doctor looked like the cancer was gone. That scan picked it up wrong, so they let you lay there for a couple hours. They send it all off. That cancer's gone. I had a cheeseburger at home that. See, now I was doubting God. I was doubting God. I'm ashamed of that. All the gifts God had given me. No, I'm ashamed to admit that. That's honest. I was doubting God. I can share that today. I'm embarrassed today. Now, I know some other people in AA that had cancer and their stories a little different. It didn't go that way for them. That's the way it went for me. I didn't go back to that cancer doctor. I got scared. I went back. I was supposed to go back like every 3 months. Alcoholism. 20 years sober. Alcoholism still kicks in on. I went back for my 3 months follow up. Everything good. Come back in 3 months. I come back the second 3 months, and there's a lady there. She was throwing up with me. I never knew her name. But we knew we were throwing up together. You build a pretty different kind of bond when you're throwing up with somebody like that all the time. And I saw her, and we hugged. I said, "It's weird you and me at the same follow-up appointment. What's the harm to that?" And she said, "I'm not here for a follow-up. My cancer's back. I'm getting treatments." And I got scared. I never went back. I just never went back. I thought God will take care of me. You know how crazy that is? That's what I did. A few months ago, I had some problems with my neck, and Crystal and I went to the same oncologist. I went back to him just a few months ago. That was 2004 when I had cancer. So I went back to that same doctor, and he looks through these charts. He says, "You never did come back here." Nope, sure didn't. He sticks all that stuff way down my throat. Not that I hate this stuff. He sticks something that, it's all. He says, "You're cancer free." I said, "Hell, I know that. I already know that." He said, "I've waited 10 years to tell you that." I'm a slow learner. I'm just a slow learner. Been that way all my life. My life is good. My life is awesome. I told you about that girl. I got pregnant back in high school. I got a 37-year-old daughter who's married with 4 kids, my 4 grandkids. The wreckage of my past. They probably don't have electric. They probably don't have water. A couple years ago, since I saw her, she's in a trailer with wood boarded up there. The wreckage of my past. That's my daughter. 2 years ago, she kept asking me for money. I give her money, give her money. Finally, my sponsor said, "You got to stop." So I said, "I can't keep giving you money. I can't do it. You've got to stop the job. I'm not going to give you any more." I've not heard from her for 2 years. The wreckage of my past. It's the wreckage of my past. How do you make amends for that? How do you clean that up? Today, I got half custody of my kids from another marriage. My son's autistic. I hate people when ladies talking about their kids, but I'm going to talk about mine. He's autistic. And I don't understand autism. It's weird. He's cut my eye. He's bloodied my eye. He's broke windows out of my house. I always tell people, if you hurt my feelings, I'm going to bring my son to your house and don't give him his mess. And he will break your windows out. You do not want to piss him off. You know how us alcoholics get mad? We think about killing. Oh, he kills. He just goes right to it. About 3 months ago, maybe longer now, the special ed teacher, he comes home and says, "Dad, special ed teacher, give me free Reds tickets. I'm going to go to Reds game with you." I said, "Buddy, you know that ain't a good idea to go. There's a lot of that ain't a good idea, Cole. You know that. I can do it now. I'm big, Dad." I said, "Buddy, there's a lot of people there. You know that ain't good. I can do it now." I thought I ought to kill that special ed teacher. I ought to go kill that one. But I know how it is. But see, I got that 37-year-old dad. I got that 37-year-old daughter that I was never there for. I paid child support, but I was never there for her. Never there. A lot of domestic with her mother. I just was never there to raise you. Always paid my child support. How do you make amends for that? Today I got 2 kids and I'm there. I'm there for them. And I'm fighting and arguing with them. So I take him to the Reds game. The book says we're reborn. I get a second chance. Not everybody gets a second chance. I get a second chance. We get a second chance. I'm going to do it right this time. I'm going to do it. I don't care how hard it is. So I take him to the Reds game. He's talking all the way out there in the car. So we get out of the car and he looks up and he shuts up. Well, that ain't good when he stops talking. I said, "You all right?" And he don't say nothing. So we go in. I hand this usher. I don't know nothing about the Cincinnati Reds. I don't care about the Reds. I could care less. It means nothing to me. But with his autism, he knows their batting average, their score, how many hits, he knows all those numbers. I don't even know their names. I don't care. But he drives us crazy. He's eat up with that stuff. So I asked the usher where our tickets are, and the usher says, "See those elevators, those escalators that go way up?" I said, "Yeah." He said, you got to go way up that one. You got to get off and go way up the next one. And then at the very top, you got to go up more. I thought, this is not good. This is not. I said, Cole, we got to go way up there. I'm okay, Dad. All right, buddy. So we get all the way up the top. He ain't saying a word. I thought, this isn't good. We get to the very top. I said, you all right? He don't say nothing. I said, Cole, we got to go up to this next escalator. He says, no. I said, before we do, let's walk out to the field, look at the field so you can get a feel of the field. He don't say nothing. The stadiums, people, families with their kids, the Reds game. So I walk my son out there, and I'm sort of real close to him because if he goes crazy, he'll start hitting. I got to be careful with him. He starts yelling the F words. The Cincinnati Reds. It's as loud as he could yell it. And I'm thinking, oh, no. People are watching, and the F words come, and he's yelling. And I'm bear hugging him. And here's what I wanted to tell the people. You people understand. Here's what I wanted to tell the people, because I knew they wouldn't understand, but you would. This is a good day of my life. See, because I'm with my kid. And I'm being a dad, because I couldn't do it the last time. This is a good day of my life. That's what I wanted to tell. But I can't tell them. So all they think is, who are those two crazy people? But it's a good day in my life. You understand that. It's an awesome day in my life. Thank God for alcohol tonight. Thank God for alcohol. What again? We go up to the next. I said, no, I'm going to tell Grandma Wayman, you ain't a big guy if you got to do that again. I'm okay, Dad. I said, I think we should go home. Oh, nope, I'm okay, Dad. I said, I'll tell Grandma Wayman. So we go up the next step. He still ain't saying that. We go up next step. I said, before we go up again, I'm going to walk you out to the field and look at the field. He'd say no. So we go out to the field. Exact same scenario. Louder this time. Now I got more people looking at us. And I wanted to yell at those people. This is a good day in my life. Because I'm with my kid. And I couldn't do that the last time. Finally, he said, Dad, I better go home. Once he buys into it, we're good. So I asked those ushers, I said, listen, you can tell my son's having trouble. Yep, they could tell. I said, we're going to go home. How do I get out of here? And the usher said, those escalators don't go down until the 7th inning. I said, what? You got to walk around the stadium to get out. So all the way around the stadium, as loud as he could yell. I just kept letting him yell. I didn't know what to do. All the way around that stadium. Kept letting him out. What do you do? 30 years sober. Hell, it's a good day in my life. I ain't drinking. I took my kids to the Red game. Thank God for alcohol tonight. Now, here's the difference between alcoholism and autism. And I don't know nothing about autism. I don't know nothing about it. Here's the difference. In the car, he says to me, Dad, when I get bigger, will I act like that? Will I act like that? Why do I act like that, Dad? Why I always act like that? Drinking, you know what I said? It was their fault. They made me act like it. Or I would have said that wasn't me, it was somebody else. I would have lied about it. He's wanting to know what the hell's wrong with him. He don't need AA for that. He wants to know. I would have been denying it or blaming it on them. That's the difference. So cool God put that kid in my life. Why would God put a kid that beats people up in my wonderful life? Such a nice guy I've been on. I understand that. I thank God for it. It's pretty cool what happened with some of this stuff. When I come to AA, I remember thinking, if I can get a new pickup truck to be a better bricklayer, my life is going to be good. That's all I could ask for. That's all I knew. A couple more things, then I'll shut up. What time did I start? I got 7 minutes. Told you I love to talk. A couple more things, then I'll shut up. A lot of different stuff happened in my life. And I like telling people because I feel comfortable with it. When I say I'm not right, I mean that. Sober. I wish this was about alcohol and drugs. I've got 4 brothers and sisters. There's 5 of us. I'm the only one sober in AA. I'm the only one sober. All of them are still married to the same spouses from high school. They all raised their kids. They all drink. None of them have been divorced. I've been divorced 3 times, 2 times sober. I ain't right, drunk or sober. I just can't do it. I never forget my brother says to me, Joe, what's wrong with you? I said, hell, people have been asking me that all my life. I don't know. I can't even blame it on alcoholism no more. I don't know. But I fit in AA, talking to a new guy. Talking to that new guy. I text one of my new guys this morning. Sometimes I don't listen. I was telling Liz, him and his girlfriend sneaking away to get married. He told me the date, and to be honest, I forgot, but I thought it was this weekend. So I texted him right before the meeting. Congratulations. I hope it all went well. He texted me back, it's next weekend. Progress rather than perfection. I'll probably forget next weekend. The new guy saved my life. They just saved my life. If you've ever been watching television and it's a good movie and the phone rings, and you got a decision to make, knowing if I talk to him, I'm going to feel better. I don't always make the right decision. I just don't. I'd like to tell you, I always answer that phone, but there's sometimes I haven't. If I would do exactly what AA says, I would be the happiest man in the world. I believe that in my heart. But if it's a good movie, I got to make a decision. Do you know how insane that is? Most of the time I answer, but not all the time. I don't always make the right decision. The insanity of alcoholism. My head is always wanting to kill me. It just does. And some days it does a pretty good job of it. One more thing, I'll shut up. Here's what's cool about Alcoholics Anonymous. Probably everyone in this room knows that. This is the only place, Alcoholics Anonymous is the only place I have ever known or been. Even if you've made a decision you don't like me from my lead today. Even if you made that decision, I don't like that guy. If I thought I was going to drink, and I think I'm going to drink, and I tell you I think I'm going to drink, I believe in my heart you would stop everything you're doing to help me. I believe that. You can't get that nowhere else. That common bond. And I love Alcoholics Anonymous for that. I love you all. Thank you.